after the game. Oh, sorry. Hello. I've never been in a war zone, but last weekend in Marseille, 12th of June, might have been the closest I'll ever come, which is good really. Shows the degree of privilege in which I live, in which a little bit of football commotion is the closest I'll ever come to a war zone. And Marseille at the weekend, 12th of June, it was Russia versus England. I went over with a group of friends of mine to go and watch the football in the Stade Velodrome in lovely Marseille. Beautiful weather. Got there on a plane, got a cab to the hotel, got a cab back to central Marseille, and it's busy and it's bustling and there are England fans everywhere. People are singing, people are drinking, everyone's having a good time. It's all going very well. So we're standing in the street, having our drinks, watching the last of the Wales game. I believe they were playing Croatia, I think. And watching the last few minutes of that before making our way over to the stadium. And we get lost. Not really lost, but you know, we don't really know where we're going. No signs telling you exactly where to go for the ground, so we're all going into this corner, into this fence, and there's no entry signs. People are still singing and having a good time. There are some Russian fans around and people are talking to each other. But we think we need to go through this gate and it's shut off and we can't get through. And so we're standing there singing and people are climbing fences to go through a part to get round because we're certain this is where we need to be. But it's locked and it's shut and it's really tall so you can't climb it or get through. And then we look back over to the central square where we all just, well, not the central square, it was kind of like a fans area. There was like a thing up that said, you know, fan zone and whatever. It's kind of near a roundabout. Some of the police vans move in, there's water cannons going off and there's tear gas swimming through the air, blowing it through the wind towards us. That's why I get tear gassed. I went to France and I got tear gassed for standing around. So eventually we walk out of this little zone that we're trapped into through the tear gas, covering up our faces to try to stop breathing it in so it doesn't affect us as much. And you walk down this road and it's packed. There's not a lot of room to move and we don't really know if we're going the right way, but we can see the stadium, we can see the ticket barriers. You know, walk up to people, give them your ticket, write a little bit on it, through you go. Security at a major stadium I thought would have been a lot higher than what it was. There's no metal detectors. Didn't see a single sniffer dog around. The pat down was just sort of, yeah, go on then. I had things in my pockets. I had wallets, phones, iPods, you know, all loaded in my pockets. Felt them, in you go. Didn't ask me to take them out and then check me again. So really could have brought anything in to the stadium, and that'll come up a little bit later on. But yeah, we go into the stadium, we take a few selfies, it's all good, we get some video, it's a great time. England scored. The game's really good, we're having a lot of fun, really enjoying ourselves, enjoying the game, and then it's getting towards the closing minutes of the match. The Russians equalise. And it's at this point that the Russians equalise, or just after, I can't quite exactly remember the timeline, a flare is let off, so like a flare gun is used and a flare fires from the Russian stand into the English fan stand on the other side. It's like a firework, like a spark, a really bright sparkler thing. A guy was just holding it and all the Russian fans were singing and dancing, and then there was this like loud bang. And of course the history of France and what happened in the Stade de France, your first thought is perhaps it's a bomb, but it's not, thankfully. So the loud banger goes off and all the Russian fans surged towards the England fans next to them. So in football stadiums, they're normally divided and they're normally kept in separate stands. But in this case, Russians and English fans were sharing the same stand. And all that was really between them was like a sheet of tarpaulin. And at this bang, it seemed like it was the trigger or the signal for all the Russian fans to surge towards the England fans and start attacking them. And if you've seen on the news, there are closer up videos of the punching and kicking that's going on after this bang. So it's clearly quite coordinated. The stewards were in really no fit state to be policing the Russian fans or the fans in general. The front of the stand, there was a line of stewards with a rope, which was supposed to stop fans going onto the pitch. To be fair to it, it worked once. One fan trying to run on the pitch, when they equalised, they lifted the rope up, he fell over, and some more stewards went and pounced on him. But when this fight's going on between the English and the Russian fans, they all stand up with their rope and they walk towards the stand. Of course, stupidly, that's of course when the fans grab hold of it, and now you've got the stewards having a tug of war with the fans, which is not ideal stewarding or stewardship. And of course at this point the rope fails in its purpose. Now they're playing tug of war and some fans do get on the pitch. After the game we just drew 1-1, we're walking down, and after this sort of fight between the fans, which is, you know, a bit unnerving, England fans having to jump at the barrier to try and escape being beaten up by the Russian fans, sort of a weird undercurrent of fear among us as we're all exiting the stadium. Everyone's a bit on edge, everyone's a bit uneasy. So just after leaving the stadium, we're sort of walking down the steps that sort of signify the boundary between like the street or like public area and whatever the stadium counts as. So there's a group of 5 or 6 riot police just standing there chatting, you know, not really doing a lot. There's at this point that a group of us said to them, you know, you should have been in there. Where were you? Riot police, because there was no riot police in the stadium. There's no police of any kind that I could see. It was just the stewards, bless them, who were doing their best to control what was, you know, a criminal situation, effectively, assault, mass assault. And the riot police standing there, almost completely unaware of, or seemingly unaware of what had gone on in the stadium. It just seemed very strange to us that they were all standing around doing nothing when, you know, there was something going on inside that they could have helped, at least in a small way, with. There wasn't, you know, hundreds of them, or 10, 20, you know, 50 of them. But 5, that's enough riot police to subdue a small crowd at the very least. Them standing around doing nothing and us asking us, you know, where were you? And then them laughing at us. Like, that didn't do much to sort of quell any sort of uneasiness or fear that we had exiting the game. So walking back from the stadium towards like the main roads and stuff, where we were hoping to pick up a taxi or a cab to take us back to our hotel. We passed more cars, police cars, and more groups of officers just standing around. I did try to get some footage or some photos of this. I'll put it in sporadically in this video if I find it. I'm not very good at this filming, Lark, strangely. So we see a group of policemen, we see a bloke who looks quite senior as a policeman, and we question him about the poor policing, and he says, "Oh, complain to UEFA about the poor policing in the ground." And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think UEFA have jurisdiction over the French police, strangely enough. So probably a bit of passing the buck there. So waiting around for a cab because there are apparently no cabs in Marseille. Everything's shut. There's nowhere to get anything to eat. We haven't had dinner. There's nowhere to get a drink. Everything's closed because the kickoff was at like 9 o'clock at night, so this is about 11. So we're standing around trying to wait for a cab because there are no cabs. We're trying to get on the phone with our cab driver who brought us here. It's at about 11:30 that like a convoy of police cars and police vehicles all sort of exit this main street area that we're on. The convoy drives down the road, and I remember turning to one of the friends I was with, and they said, "Oh, well, now we're alone," quite ominously. You know, the police have all departed. I just don't know where they were going. Maybe that was it for them for the night. This coupled with the fact that the metro was shut apparently, and there were no trains, no buses, and the lack of cars. It was all a very poorly organised, poorly planned event from our perspective. So one of our previous cab drivers turned up. There was 8 of us. We had 2 cabs coming down here, but the other guy had gone home for the evening, perhaps rightly, because it wasn't very friendly out there. So there's 8 of us squeezing into this 7-seater car, including the driver. So that was quite a scene as we drove back to Marseille. It was quite the experience for me, if I'm being honest. First time I've ever been tear gassed. That was nice. The game was good though. We didn't win, but it was a nice game. Yeah, that was a nice little story about how Marseille was. Overall thoughts? Poorly organised, undercurrent of fear, and I hope the policing improves, because so far the pictures coming out of the rest of the France games appears not. Perhaps try searching people before they get in the ground so they can't get in with flares and throw them on the pitch or at other fans. That'd be a good start. The French police are clearly focusing too much on terror threats and not enough on any other kind of threats. But enjoyable. Come on England, we're going to win the Euros. No we're not, but we can dream. We can dream.